Hi, I'm Heidi Lynn, the owner of Heidi Lynn Photography and Heidi Lynn Education, and this is my photo story. So today I'm going to give you a little bit of a background on who I am, where I came from, and how I got to where I am on my photography journey. So it kind of all starts for me with my grandparents. My great-grandpa was into photography. My grandpa is into photography. He always has a camera with him. My mother has been in photography and has done some senior photos, and she has dabbled with some of that stuff. And I even have some cousins in photography. Now, watching my mom do photography was probably one of the things that really got me to love what I do. She took some photos for one of my friends. She did her senior photos, and I got to watch her and I got to hang out with her and help her take those photos, and it was so much fun. And I realized at that moment that that was one of the things that I wanted to do. But if we back up a little bit farther, photography has always been something that I have loved. Even from when I was little, I was interested in disposable cameras and things like that. But when I was a young teen, a friend and I always took photos. We took photos in her basement. We did all these setups. We got these fun dresses, and we would play with angles. And I'm going to show you some of those photos because there's some really good stuff there. But anyway, so we loved doing that. And then that went on, and I did that in high school. I loved taking photos of my siblings. I took 3 photography courses in high school, and that was literally my favorite classes. All my art classes, which isn't much of a surprise if you know me, were the favorite classes that I had all the time. And so technically you were only supposed to have 2 art classes. So I took, 2 photography classes. I took both of those. I loved those. My senior year, I did not want to give up photography, so I asked my teacher, I actually begged her, to let me have another photography class. Now, in our photography class in school, we actually developed films. We had a dark room, which I thought was very frustrating and very complicated. You had to have more patience than I really had. Patience isn't a thing that I have all the time, so I did not love the dark room, but I loved taking pictures. And so she created I guess an advanced course for me my senior year, and I got to go take pictures, which was actually when I took some of the pictures of my siblings. I used them for some of my subjects because they were much younger than me and were not in school yet. So I have pictures that I took of them as certain projects. I went around town. I think one of my projects was like churches, flowers, and then I think I did one on children. So it was a lot of fun because I got to think outside of the box and do things that I probably wouldn't have done at that time. Now, also in high school, I actually worked for a photography studio, and I did that for probably about 1.5 years, and that was a lot of fun. I got to see the assistant side of things, and I was the one bringing the props. I was the one holding the reflector and things like that. So I learned a lot of that background stuff and, you know, how to make kids smile and some different things you could do. I learned a lot of those things from that 1.5 years working at that photography studio. Now, when I worked there, that is when photography just started switching from film to digital. And it was the craziest thing to me when I was working there that we were gonna just plug this little card into our camera and we could take as many photos as we wanted. What? You mean you didn't have to be careful and just take the good shots and hope that everybody's eyes were open? No, you got to just take. So that was a very cool thing I got to experience while I was still working at that photography studio. Now, I did not learn a lot of the technical things as far as photography goes or business things. I learned most of those things on my own from trial and error. That was just not things that I was interested in at the time. I loved photography, and I thought maybe someday that might be something I would do, but it was not a plan of mine to start a photography business right away. So then moving forward, I I got married, I had children, and our first child, we did not even own a camera. We took pictures off our cell phones because that was just, you know, when cell phones were starting to have the crappy little cameras that we thankfully no longer have. So my first son, we have some of those photos, and then my mom had a camera, so we took him over there, and that's where we did like his monthly photos and stuff like that. I did not have a camera at all. I think we maybe had some disposable cameras, but that was it. So moving forward, we had our second child, and when we had our second child, that was when my husband went out and bought our first point and shoot camera. It was a little fancier point and shoot than just your little rectangle one, which is totally fine if that's all you have. But that is the camera that I actually used when I very first started photography. I loved taking pictures. Now, mind you, I didn't start then. So I had that child, and that's another story for another day. He was a very complicated pregnancy and newborn, and so life was crazy that year. But moving on, I had my third child in 2008. And after I had him, I realized how quickly, I now have 3 boys, and I realized how fast time was moving. Like literally I had a newborn, and then now I have a 3-year-old, and then I have 2 more babies. So I just realized that those moments were passing so quickly, and if I didn't capture them, they were going to be gone. So moving on, another year later, we had another child. This time it was a surprise, and we had our daughter. Yes, I know that makes 4 children. That makes 4 children in about 6 years. Our life was crazy, crazy, crazy. But in the time from when I had my son, my last son, to when I had my daughter, I spent a lot of time playing with my camera and learning, and we practiced with him at home. You know, I had a new baby, so I had a subject right there. I had 2 other toddlers that I could use for photos. So I spent a lot of time practicing with them and learning, taking them out to the park, you know, getting some action photos. I spent so much time taking photos of them when they were little. And so then I had my daughter, so then that kind of put things on hold for a little bit longer. But I definitely started really getting to know the ropes as far as photography. Before I had her, I did do some photo sessions. I had some friends that I reached out to, some family, just to start getting used to taking photos of other people, not just my children. So I did do some of that, and then I got pregnant with her. I had her, so that kind of, you know, put things on hold for a little while. And then after I had her, I really just dove in and really learned as much as I could. I got Photoshop after trying to use some free editing software that you could find online that was not working. I got Photoshop. I had a room dedicated to my photography. Now remember, I was still using just a point and shoot at this time. So I could not even take off my lens, like it was attached to my camera. I did have an extendable or a zoom lens on my camera, but I could not take it off. So then things just kind of went from there. I did a lot of practice, a lot of reaching out to people. I look back at those pictures, and they're clearly not the quality that I deliver today, but I am so thankful that those people were willing to just let me practice with them, let me use them as my subjects, and let me learn. I had so much fun, and I learned a lot in those days when, you know, it was just learning. So obviously I still had a full-time job at the time. I had 4 little children, and so I kept pretty busy with that. I did photography on the side in the evenings and the weekends. In the beginning, it was just a hobby. It still was not really, I mean, I would love to have had a photography studio, but it was not necessarily something I was working towards. So then, you know, as I got better, I learned a lot more. I built my clientele. I'm still taking photos of some of the people that I have been taking photos of since 2009. So I just cannot even explain how thankful I am for those people that have stuck with me, and they've watched me grow, and I've gotten to know their families. Their families have turned into friends. I can't even explain how thankful I am for those families that have just, you know, stayed loyal and stuck around with me. And some of those families have even been some of the people that have challenged me. Like, they found new things. They want me to try these new things. So I did it. I tried everything new at the time because I wanted to just learn as much as I could. So I continued to learn. I continued to dive in and to just absorb everything I could. I spent so many hours at home editing and learning, and honestly, editing was the worst part at the time. Now, it's still not technically my favorite thing to do, but I have learned so many tips and tricks now to make it such a faster process. If I could just shoot pictures all day and let somebody else do all the editing, I would be totally fine with that. I love taking the photos. But besides that, when I started in 2008, 2009, I started doing everything. If I wasn't outdoors, I had a back room where I had my computer, and we threw up a black sheet, and that is where I started my photography. That was my studio. It was in-home, and now in-home studios can be fabulous. This was not a fabulous in-home studio, but it was a starting point. So I did that for about a year and a half. And then in 2010, I rented my first studio space. I still remember how exciting that was to have my own space, to be able to go and do photos, to not have my little children running around and try to have to block them out of the room and worry about whether or not they were gonna fall and start screaming during a photo session. And it was just so nice to be able to leave to go do my sessions and to come back home. Now again, I spent all my time editing, basically. Well, I felt like it was all my time. It probably wasn't then. Now I spend a lot of my time editing when I'm at home. That's okay. I don't mind that. That means I'm taking pictures and I'm doing what I love. But moving into that first studio was just, it was so nice. It gave me something that was mine. It made my business feel real. Now, there were times where I did photography full-time. There were times where I did photography on the side. I moved to a new location about 2 years after that. And then I actually went back to that location and then back to the other location. 4 moves, same block, 2 buildings. Trying to find the right space for me, and it was really hard to just to make sure everything worked the way I wanted it to. What I really wanted was one big open space, and it was just hard to find. You know, in our local town, we have a lot of businesses that are set up like offices, so that kind of made it difficult for what I was needing. So in 2000 and, we're gonna fast way forward here, 2018, I'd have to look back, I got the opportunity to move into the building that I am in now. I absolutely love the space that I am in now. I have a big open space. I have a studio tour video that will be available for you to watch, and you can see what the space looks like. But I have an open space that kids can come in the door and they can just run around, and they can, you know, they can warm up. They can feel like it's a place for them. We have a Lego table. We have a little toy block for them to play with. So they can just come in and be free and, you know, wake up if they need to. And then I have a separate little area for photo sessions. So this place has really been kind of a home away from home. We love coming to the studio and working and just getting some things done and things accomplished. I have a private parking lot, which is so nice. It's not on the street parking, but this studio has really taken my business to the next level. It is so much more professional. I've been able to set it up the way I want to, display photographs. I can't explain how much I love this location and what it's done for my photography. I have a sign outside. I have a big logo on the window. This has just been the place that has really made it all real and felt like everything fell into place. And I can't tell you how hard I worked and how many hours I spent to get here, but I would not have changed it for anything. I love where I'm at. I am sort of doing photography full-time right now. Now is like a weird time to really kind of judge anything with everything that's going on. But I just love this location. I love the business. I love the people that I get to know. There are so many people that have become friends, and they're just so much more than clients. And I almost struggle to call my clients clients because I just feel like all of them are so much more than that, and I'm so incredibly thankful. But if it were not for all those clients and all those people that had faith in me and that trusted me with their images, their memories, I would not be where I'm at today. There's no way I would be where I'm at today. And my slogan is a smile, a click, a memory. And that's kind of where it all comes from. I mean, that's what it all boils down to. A smile, a click, and a memory. And I just want to thank every one of you guys for coming along this journey. I hope you continue to come on this journey with me. I'll see you guys soon. Bye.